Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm the GQ Jedi. If you're not already subscribed to me, blast that subscribe button down below so you don't miss any valuable Star Wars content. Now, Kenner made a lot of Star Wars action figures, and luckily, Kenner made a lot of droid action figures because there were a lot of droids in the Star Wars movies, and today I thought we'd take a little closer look at those awesome droids. The Star Wars galaxy is full of amazing characters made up of sentient beings and artificial life. George Lucas saw fit to create two of the most iconic and important droids to have ever graced the silver screen. They were instant favorites when they first appeared on the Tantive 4 in the opening of Star Wars in 1977. C-3PO, the Golden Protocol droid, and R2-D2, the Blue Astromech droid, were the first characters we were introduced to in the Star Wars saga. They are not only characters in the story, but they also act as the unofficial narrators of the saga. They have witnessed every major event and are connected to all the major characters. Their importance in Star Wars cannot be questioned. If looks could kill, not that that is his style, but C-3PO is by far the flashiest looking droid in the galaxy. His shiny golden exterior cannot be mistaken or matched. He was released in 1978, and this action figure wowed kids with his 3 3/4 inch likeness. I can remember being a child and thinking 3PO always stood out to me in the line of action figures, always. His figure is spot-on likeness. He really great detail. You really couldn't ask for a better action figure representation. The only caveat to C-3PO is that sometimes the limbs get very loosey-goosey on him over time with enough play. He's very susceptible to that. It is a crime, but that is one of the afflictions that C-3PO suffers from. He also gets paint rubs. C-3PO is susceptible to paint rubs. So over time, enough play wear, kind of like his limbs, paint sometimes can rub right off. So you got to be careful with the oil on your hands. But I truly love this figure. I think it's an amazing likeness from what we saw in the movies. Personally, to me, C-3PO is Star Wars. It's an amazing figure. Super happy to have him in my collection. Goldenrod was re-released in 1982 as part of the Empire Strikes Back line. But this time, C-3PO had removable limbs, and he came with a black net that Chewie could use to carry his body around in when they were escaping Cloud City. Pretty cool feature. I think it's sweet because you can actually fit all of 3PO in the bag. All of his pieces will fit, as you can see. It definitely made 3PO a more desirable figure. He's kept his detail from the first edition, the first version of the figure. But then with the net, the fact that 3PO comes apart, that was genius. Good job. Good on Kenner. I think they nailed it with this figure. I think he's awesome. R2-D2 is one of my favorite figures in the entire Kenner lineup. Originally released as part of the early bird set in 1978, and then he was later released on a card back, R2-D2 has always remained a staple in Kenner Star Wars collections. His stature and design are perfect. Kenner gave R2 a shiny dome with blue paint, which can vary in shade depending on the coup or the country of origin. The dome itself not only looks like R2, but it also clicks when you rotate the head. Inside the body is a little tab that comes in contact with another piece that gives it the clicking noise. It's pretty ingenious. It's very simple and effective. That was Kenner's secret weapon, I think, their ingenuity. And as for the body itself, it's just a really detailed decal that makes up the Astromech's entire torso. Another simple and effective way to achieve something. I think the decal works. I think the design, the shiny clicky head and the decal, it really sells it. The bummer on the decal is, of course, that it can age with time. It gets yellow. Sometimes these things can look really nasty. No fault of anyone's. The oil in your fingers can also make the sticker look kind of grimy, so be careful with that. It is a sticker. It's not a painted body. But R2 is an amazing figure. I love R2. R2-D2 was released 3 times on cardback in the main line of Kenner Toys and once more with the Droid Factory playset, which came out in 1979. Unfortunately, I am still waiting for mine. I finally secured a complete playset. I'm super stoked. I don't have it yet. It's on its way. So look forward to a future unboxing video when I get it. And then, of course, I will do a more of an in-depth review of the playset itself. So stay tuned for both of those things. The R2 figure that came with the Droid Factory is the only version of R2 to come with the detachable middle third leg. Makes him very sought after by many collectors. It's very cool because you can also replicate moments from the movies, which is awesome. Great displayability. In 1981, R2-D2 was released again for The Empire Strikes Back, and this time he came with an upgrade. He came with a blue plastic sensor scope, which erected from the top of his dome, just like in the movie. Nice little cool upgrade feature for R2. He is the astromech with all the gadgets, so it makes sense that Kenner would give him a new gadget. That's awesome in my book. R2, he's needed in all the Hoth setups. I do recommend him. The sensor scope is a nice touch. Kenner didn't have to make a second R2 figure, but they did, and they gave him an upgrade. So I think this is awesome. Nice Hoth Empire Strikes Back version of him. Definitely, definitely need him in my setups, no question. The body and the decals are the same. It's just the head was retooled to fit the sensor scope, but R2 is essentially the same with an upgrade. Released in 1985 as part of the Power of the Force line, R2-D2 came to toy stores for a third time. This time, instead of a sensor scope erecting out of the top of his dome, kids got a removable pop-up green lightsaber. Very, very cool. We had no idea we were going to get a third version of R2, so for Kenner to throw this at us was a nice surprise. Essentially, the R2 body is the same. The head has been retooled, though, to fit the green lightsaber, Luke's green lightsaber, which is kind of cool. Nice little new feature upgrade. What kid doesn't want a lightsaber? And yes, the head still clicks, which is great. But yeah, that's the figure. It's all about this green lightsaber that kind of stays in R2's head. And that was the play feature. Like I said, rotating the head doesn't make the lightsaber, pop up. Unfortunately, that was what it's, it says pop up lightsaber, but it doesn't actually pop up. It just stays in there. Or you can pull it out and play with it. But that's it. Or you could lose it, but don't lose it because this thing goes for like over $200 now if you want an original one. So hang on to it. But I do think it's a cool figure in spite of it not spring-loaded lightsaber action or what would have been, dreamed up if what any 7-year-old would have wanted. I still think it's a cool figure. He's last 17. It's R2-D2, so I got nothing but mad love for him, even if the lightsaber doesn't shoot out of the top of his dome. Still love him. Back on Tatooine, a tribe of Jawas were cruising around with more than just C-3PO and R2-D2 in tow. Inside this handcrawler was the power droid, or the gonk droid as I like to call him, and so do millions of people, I think. He can be seen a few times throughout A New Hope on Tatooine. Kenner released him in 1978 and gave him a blue squat body and a decal that was essentially his entire face, if you couldn't call it a face. He has a little plastic knob that's on the top of his body, and instead of a clickable head, his legs actually click when you move his body. It's kind of cool. Cool little feature for a gonk droid. Give him a little something, something. I like the gonk droid. I think he's awesome. He's definitely a standout figure in a droid lineup or in just a action figure lineup in general. He's one of a kind. I just wish that he actually said gonk when he moved. The most famous astromech in the galaxy next to R2-D2 is none other than the fan favorite R5-D4. A bad motivator was all it took to crush his chances of working at the Lars Moisture Farm, yet he remains very popular even to this day. Kenner released him on cardback in 1978. Very cool figure. I'm really happy that Kenner added another astromech. R5's head does click, just like R2's, which is cool. R5 also looks great inside the Y-Wing. If you guys have never stuck him in a Y-Wing, you're missing out. R5 is just a great figure all around. I think he's got a great likeness. The decal looks great. His dome is intact. The motivator looks like it's still there, not broken. He's not smoking all over the place. Ha, ha, ha. No, honestly, I mean, even the chrome pieces that Kenner added, just the little bits, just these little details really flesh out this figure. He's a nice addition to the Kenner lineup, no doubt. Last in the original line of droid figures released in 1978 was the Death Star droid. A gorgeous figure by any measure. Kenner gave this 3 3/4 inch action figure a killer silver metallic looking paint job, and boy does he shine. First seen briefly on Tatooine inside the Jawa sandcrawler, and then later aboard the Death Star with black painted eyes. This droid is pretty cool looking, and it's nice to see that the Empire has a droid of their own, which I think is fair to say considering we haven't seen any Imperial droids in the toy line up to this point. Nor do we for the rest of the line of toys for that matter. So yeah, the paint rubs are a thing for Death Star droid, just like 3PO, loose limbs. This one's pretty solid. This is like basically a near mid figure. But with the Death Star droid, loose limbs and paint rubs are definitely an affliction for this poor guy. But he's an absolutely gorgeous figure. No Death Star playset setup is complete without him. The Empire Strikes Back line of toys gave kids a few more droids to play with at playtime. Both released in 1980, Rebel Medical Droids FX7 and 2-1B were the first droid figures released for the sequel. FX7 is a cool looking figure. I think Kenner did a really great job with him. He looks just like he did on Hoth when he and 2-1B were monitoring Luke's back-to-bath after his Wampa attack. This gray figure has protruding arms around his body. These little white plastic arms that, with a little finesse, you can pop them out. Give FX7 some arms if that's what you want to display. I just leave mine in. The protruding arm that does all the work in the movie, that's present. The head swivels, and it also pops up, which is interesting. Something I wasn't seen in the movie, but Kenner's making a toy, giving it some different play feature, which I think is pretty cool. FX7 plays a pretty big role, so I consider him essential personnel at my Echo base. The 2-1B Medical Droid was responsible for nursing Luke Skywalker back to health throughout The Empire Strikes Back, so I'm happy that Kenner molded their figure of him in an accurate likeness of the infamous droid. He has a rich aquamarine blue color with a slightly clear see-through torso, which is cool. 2-1B was a must at playtime if you wanted to keep your heroes healthy. He's also one of the few droids to come with an accessory. He came packaged on a card back with this silver medical staff. I think he's a solid figure. I definitely like him over FX7, but don't tell him that. Don't tell him that. I would be remiss in my duties if I didn't include IG-88 in the droid Kenner lineup, because he is a droid after all. Technically, he's an assassin droid, and he's lethal. This is an amazing figure, one of the bounty hunters seen in The Empire Strikes Back. I'm glad Kenner made him. Great detail. The likeness is spot on, front and back. Not that we saw IG-88's backside, but, I mean, it's a great likeness. Released on card back in 1980, Kenner pulled no punches with this figure. They really knocked it out of the park. In my opinion, he's got great detail. He just looks like a solid robot. IG-88 actually comes in two different variations. There's a glossy version, and then there's more of like a matte version of him in terms of the color, or I'm sorry, the paint app. So that's something to look out for. IG-88 is actually one of the only figures to come with two accessories. He's the only figure to come with two guns. He comes with the E11 Stormtrooper blaster and his signature IG-88 blaster rifle. Such an awesome figure. Definitely popular at playtime. Zuckuss, or as I prefer to call him, Forlom, was released on card back in 1982. I'm so happy that Kenner made him. He's one of the 6 bounty hunters contracted to find Han Solo. Such an exceptional likeness, in my opinion. Great paint apps. There's a lot of detail on this action figure. It looks every bit the same as what I saw in the movie. The blaster rifle he comes packaged with is awesome. I don't really have any issues with Forlom. Not the way it looks anyway. If I had to say anything, it's the blaster rifle. Sometimes the blaster rifle doesn't always stay in his hand. You gotta have a little bit of patience when posing him with it. But once you do it, he looks great no matter where he's at in your displays. He's a terrific action figure. So happy that Kenner made him. They could have forgotten him. He was only seen for 2 seconds in the movie. So kudos to Kenner. Thank you. The Return of the Jedi line of action figures saw 2 droids. Perhaps the most evil droids in the galaxy. I'd wager it's true. I'm talking about EV-99 and her menacing-looking mechanical henchman, AD-8. Originally released in 1983 as part of the Jabba the Hutt Dungeon Action playset, and then later on card back in 1984, AD-8 made his way to the Star Wars collection ready to cause trouble. I think Kenner did a great job with him. I'm happy that they decided to include him in the ROTJ lineup of action figures. Look at that face. So mean looking. I mean, this is a very simple figure, but man, did they crush it. I mean, you know, there's detail, you know, even on the backside here, there's just interesting robotic detail. 88, man, I don't know. It's all about the face. He's just got the meanest face in the entire galaxy for a droid. He looks like he means business. I'm happy that Kenner made him, but he definitely belongs in the dungeon. Released in 1985 as part of the Power of the Force line, Kenner crafted a perfect representation of the evil droid, EV-99. Such an awesome character. Jabba's dungeon wouldn't be complete without her. He needed a special menacing droid to run the show, and luckily Kenner saw fit to give us such an evil droid to play with at home. Thank you. So cool. Love this figure. She was part of the last 17. Very rare, but just an awesome figure regardless of her release. Such great detail, even on the back. Look at that. Just super cool. Like Kenner just didn't miss anything. No tricks. Kenner actually also put a mechanism in the back of her head so that she could talk, essentially. If you move the lever in the back, if you move it up and down, Evie's lower jaw will move up and down as well. I guess Kenner thought that because she was so audible in the movie, kids would want to make her talk. So, yeah, I mean, they added this nifty little lever. Nice little upgrade. She is very fragile, though. This is one of the most delicate figures in the entire lineup. Super fragile. The jaw, her head, her limbs, especially her arms, will fall off. They'll break and fall off. You got to be very careful with everything about her, essentially. Her head, especially. Her legs will be kind of bowed in a little bit. She doesn't stand so well without a action figure stand, so you might need one of those, but she's an awesome figure. Her popularity continues to rise. Street value is only going up. I mean, I know people that focus collect her. She's that cool of a figure. This is my only one. I need to hunt down another display figure, but she's absolutely amazing. Highly recommend picking this figure up if you don't have her. Thought it would be fun to show you guys all the droid displays that I have throughout my collection. R2-D2 C-3PO and R2-D2, obviously the main heroes. You know, I can never take enough Sandcrawler shots. I love that toy. The droids under the Falcon. Death Star droid in his home environment. A little bit of the Star Destroyer recreation with the bounty hunters. R2's getting stuck in some mud on Dagobah. Told you guys, R5 looks great in the Y-Wing. I actually did a review on the Jabba Dungeon playsets. I'll leave a link in the description below for you guys. There's the torture droids doing what they do best. And of course, the beloved R2-D2 figures. Gotta love the old Tatooine recreations. Of course, I didn't forget the probe droid. He is an unofficial action figure. Got X-Wing Luke hanging with R2 under the Falcon. Got the 2 medical droids discussing Luke's recovery. FX7 hanging with the troops. Of course, you got Forlome / Zuckus, call him what you will. Another bounty hunter shot aboard the Star Destroyer. Got 2-1B in the trenches next to Chewie, making sure everybody's healthy. The droids hanging tough on Echo Base. Got EV-99 in her dungeon where she belongs. The purchase of the droids, such an iconic moment in the saga. An important event that would send a ripple through the galaxy. 3PO has definitely seen better days on Cloud City. And of course, the droids on the Death Star. C-3PO and R2-D2, our beloved favorite droids.
Well guys, those are my thoughts on the Kenner Star Wars Droid Action Figures. What about you? You got a droid favorite? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you guys like this video, give that like button a thumbs up because it does help out the channel. And if you've not done so, blast that subscribe button and hit the notifications bell so you don't miss any valuable Star Wars content. And remember, collect or collect not, there is no try.